All right.
Can you grab me a toy or something for him? That little giraffe, maybe. On the floor.
I'll give you a heads up. In order to sync this audio, that audio, I'm gonna clap one time.
No, you're not gonna cooperate. This is a good, like, intro.
All right. It's 3:32 on the clock. We'll try to aim under an hour or an hour max. So
Well, you got posts that you can always cut.
I ain't cutting it. I ain't cutting. I'll only cut if like we're gonna do something for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want me sitting. No, you don't. You don't want me sitting. All right, go. Yeah. Hello.
What's up, fellas, ladies? Welcome to Meet My Friends podcast, and we have an old-time OG, Mr. Patrick Tafua.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right,
And my little mini guest.
baby number 3, and
baby
then we
number
have
3,
a
Lennox.
cameraman, Leo, behind the camera.
Hi. So cool, man. But no, thanks for having me on. And my wife's gonna make a quick little surprise entrance, real quick, or I'll just stand up and hand off my baby. She doesn't want to be on camera. So,
All right. All right, Leo, do you want to be part of the show, Leo? Leo, do you want to be part of the show? You have to sit still for an hour, max an hour, 20 minutes,
okay,
30
cool.
minutes.
Go play. Okay. We'll see if we take an hour. If I get the eyes and the look right now, we'll cut it short.
Yeah, and also if someone's hungry, we'll get food for the kids.
But no, man, I'm excited to be on here, and thanks for having me. I mean, you traveled quite a distance
Yes.
to make this work out, and we're here.
We don't want to dox nobody, but we're in Northern California right now, and we're both originally from Southern California. And before we go, do you want audio? Just to hear your own voice, or?
You hear me?
I hear everything just fine. I don't know if you need to hear yourself.
No, I hear myself enough,
All right.
and I can hear you too.
I'll put this down then. That way I don't get too distracted with the headphones. All right, where we would like to start it, and also where we can start from the beginning.
Our origin story.
Yeah, before the turn of the millennium, we met.
Yeah, man.
Probably 5th grade, right? I know you went to Mears. But
I went to Mears. So, yes, I was a new kid at Mears in 5th grade. We were both in different classes. I actually believe you had Miss Greer, right?
4th grade, yeah.
4th grade. Oh, so I was way off. But, yeah, I was in Miss Camber's class, 5th grade. And
Miss Yan, 5th grade.
There you go, Miss Yan. But I don't think we interacted too much unless it was on the basketball courts. But I would say the acquaintances of each other, we continued on to middle school, where we were in band together.
Yeah, and what did you play?
I was a trumpet player at first, and then I transferred over to trombone.
And I was a flute player. Moved over to it looked like a tuba, but it was called a sousaphone, right? The one that tuba is all in front of you, but sousaphone is the one that wraps around you.
Yeah, you did play that, huh?
Once, Mr. Arolato, if you're alive, Dave, you're a man. Yeah, I remember in middle school, some Asian kid was like, "What are you, Mexican?" And I was like, and you're like, "No, I'm Samoan." And that's the first time I ever heard the word Samoan. I don't remember that.
That's actually funny. You're right. I don't remember why they said that, but you're right.
Because there's we had no experience with any Samoan people in our area. You're probably the first, or maybe there was, but we didn't know about. But because our area is predominantly like Vietnamese/Mexican, a handful of white and black.
And my name probably doesn't help because my first name's Patrick, so that kind of
Correct.
throws the scent off, unless you know my last name, Tafua.
Yeah.
But even that, it's like only Tafua, 3 syllables. Majority of Samoan last names are a little longer.
Long as hell.
Yeah.
Like to the point where you have a nickname, like the brother Israel Kamakabibole, the over the rainbow guy, and people just call him Iz, but he had a
Yeah.
long ass name. But yeah, I think some dude saw you that you were brown, and I didn't know any better either. I was like, oh, this probably is Mexican, because if you guess Mexican, you probably guess correctly.
Yeah, or I think unfortunately everyone thinks Mexican first but it isn't until you realize when you talk to some Hispanics that they're like, no, I'm, Colombian or
El
some other
Salvadorian,
form.
like
Yeah,
El Salvadorians will definitely correct you.
yeah.
Like,
So Guatemalans as well, I've had interactions with. So, but yeah, I it's funny you mentioned that. I did have to stand up for myself. No, I'm Samoan, but that's a little bit a part of me. Of my origin story was kind of that identity crisis was in middle school because I was a little smaller. I was a lot skinnier than most Samoans. Wasn't as dark and complexion, and even my own peers, Samoan peers out of ours at middle school and high school, took a while for them to even accept me. I was kind of labeled a coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside, and just because I didn't speak the language or didn't dress the part or whatever that was. But going back to our origin story though, to middle school, right, and band, I think that's where more conversations were had between us.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, if we're being overly transparent, I think the formal friendship, like I guess DTR, determining the relationship, really happened in high school.
Yeah, we all became much closer because we all played sports together,
Mm-hmm.
football together. 1 year of volleyball, even though I was not good. I eventually got way better.
So in high school, because of sports and particularly football, we, that's a year-round sport where right after season you're going right into training, and we were just with each other a lot. And we were fortunate to be on some good teams, good enough teams to recognize that, like, oh man, as a collective group, we really got something going on here, and we should stick together, and make sure we're a tight unit. And that's sort of what sports does, right? Like, especially when you're feeling success, you kind of get drawn together with people who want to be successful and are united by that understanding. And then just the level of respect, like while you were here, I was sharing with my boys, like, Uncle Q is stronger than me, faster than me. And they're like, what? What? I was like, yeah. And, that's one of those things, like, I highly respected you on, seeing the level of effort and work that you put into your training. And funny enough, you're still doing now. Like, you went on a 3-mile run last night.
Trying to get slim, trying to keep up, keep up with like younger kids, trying to relive glory days. I hate saying that, but trying to hold on to our youth as much as possible because we're much closer to mortality than.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, my bad. It didn't mean to get too dark. But do you want to talk about anything regarding football? Because you started pretty young. Like you were lucky enough to get to play sports in middle school, which most of us didn't. Most of us, our first experience with football is freshman year.
Yeah, that's a shout out to my stepdad coming into my life. I think many of us in our generation, some of our favorite sports movies was one of ours was Little Giants, or at least it was for me. And I wanted to play Pop Warner, but my mother, during that time was working multiple jobs. We just couldn't do it schedule wise. But when she had married my dad now, and he was like, let's go do it. And I think that was a way for him to win me over as my stepdad. Right. Let's go sign up Patrick.
Yeah, he's a really, I met him. Known him through the years. He's a really good dude.
Oh yeah, man, I love my dad, and I'm so appreciative of him. And so that opened that window and that opportunity, and it allowed me to be more prepared going into freshman year for sure.
And also, to add on, you are the baby of the family. You do have at least two older brothers that I initially knew of at that time that also played sports. A huge enough age gap where they're kind of like father figures.
Additional father figures to me, yeah. So I'm the youngest with a blended family. I was 9 when my mom married my stepdad, and I'm kind of their child together. But so as a blended family, I'm the youngest of 9. Mm-hmm. So that's just 8 additional parents to have, especially in the Samoan family, and so that's a lot about my roots there. But with football, I think what you're trying to lead into and whatnot. But I was fortunate and blessed to continue my career in that sport outside of high school, and it afforded me an education and blessed me with ample amounts of opportunities that I dreamt of, that I, worked hard to bring to fruition. And I think, did you ever have Mr. Flack in math and
freshman year. Oh,
no, middle school.
Middle or sixth grade. My very first year in middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it was the same time for me. And back in middle school, they used to have, SSR, silent reading time before we start the class.
30 minutes of reading.
Correct.
Or whatever it was.
Hated SSR. But one time he read an article, and this is a shout out to Mr. Floyd Flack. He read an article about a study that was happening that kids our age at that time, which would put us around 11 or 12, 13 years old, who practiced their autograph. And it would end up finding, there was a correlation at that time that I remember, at least I could get this wrong, but there was a correlation that that child would end up finding themselves in careers using their signature a lot.
Okay.
If you were to look at my notes in the margins from that point on, all the way through high school, even junior college, bro, I was practicing signature. And I would have the scenarios in my head. Oh, I got you signing your autographs.
Have you made any money on autograph?
No.
You ever sign like a flag or a jersey? You're like, yeah, I got you, homie.
No, but I've gotten to sign. I've got to do that. I dreamt of those moments, and I was fortunate to go play college ball at Ohio University, and being able to have kids and stuff waiting for me coming out of the lock, like to sign autographs, man. Like from our little town of Westminster, like to do that, it was quite the blessing. But so yeah, that's football. It was a great provider for me for experiences and opportunities that I dreamt of and was able to have.
Even though our city was I feel like it's a very small corner of the world, small corner of the country. Mm-hmm. Regarding degrees of separations, like it seems like we always have access to like other people, other sports, other figures. It's just like the world does seem smaller than it really is.
Yeah.
In terms of connections.
But you know what's crazy? Where we grew up, though, we didn't have anyone though. I think it kind of happened after us. Yeah. This close knit people going on and doing more. I didn't see that growing up. I didn't especially through our 4 years of high school. No one went to play football in college. Everyone had opportunities and chances, but if all of them could be honest today, they realize they messed up in the classrooms. They messed up in those things, and they lost those opportunities.
And weirdly enough, when we went to junior college, to be real, there's a lot of players that are faster and stronger than us, way faster. Yeah. But even after the year you left, the back-to-back MVPs of the team were you and then Delahousse, former Westminster guys.
Sure. It's just cool, man. It is cool for our little bubble that was able to produce, and I just so grateful to see people from our community and from high school that were in our circles that being able to thrive. And even now, where everyone's at in life, I'm grateful for social media to provide sort of a window to people's lives, right? That keeping tabs on even for yourself. I'm proud to have surrounded myself with just good dudes, good people who have been able to find their lanes in life, and I'm grateful to be here now to share a little bit of mine and have the opportunity to do that with you.
I know I get to see your house every few years. The last time I was here was end of 2021 when we last went viral. We're about to go viral again this time. We can talk about more of the social media world if you like, what you're trying to do or career-wise, if you want to go down that route. Or
Sure, man. Thank you. Ultimately, social media, I think our generations have been there from the birth, from the inception, starting from MySpace, right?
But we learned about it when we were at least high school or college. Mm-hmm. So we weren't raised. We were the last camera-free generation, I think. I would
agree with that.
Yeah, and afterwards, everyone had a phone. Everyone had a camera.
I never had a camera phone or a legitimate iPhone kind of thing till I was an adult, full blown in my career and could afford it. I've always had what I call the FacBerry. Okay. The slides up, looks like a BlackBerry, but could not be more far away from a BlackBerry.
I hate doing these checks now, but let me check to make sure we're still recording because I always am afraid I hit
that would really suck. All right. That is a real fear.
Legitimate fear. Solved.
So let's just get into it. Yeah, I've adopted social media pretty quickly to each single platform that ever came out. And in Instagram, I was one that I really, really gravitated towards, and especially when it was just pictures and all that. It's been a creative outlet for mine. So fast forward, I've always had a presence on there, but then I actually ramped it up a little bit, going into something I created a profile username called A Dadalorian Life.
Okay.
It was a play on words for the show The Mandalorian, which is I'm wearing a shirt here.
And Do Not Sue is fair rights content.
But it's a very favorite show of mine within that Star Wars brand, and I decided to kind of moniker and pay homage to that show with The Dadalorian. Surprisingly, people were interested in the content, but I couldn't really fully give it my all,
especially with 3 kids, wife.
Well, it wasn't 3 kids even at that time, but we were growing a family. We bought a house. You kind of go when you're in that world of content creation, and you're like, because it almost becomes addicting, and you're like, man, I can really do it. But then you're looking at your wallet and your bank account, and it's not providing crap. So you're like, I got to go
do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do.
Yeah. But I didn't know if this was what I wanted to do. It really was a creative, more so creative outlet.
I would say knowing you throughout life, I feel like social media is a perfect way to showcase your personality, because your personality does stand out. Like no matter where you go, it always it's almost like a flower in a field. You can see it. I don't know a less gay way of saying it, but
no, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. So I just was able to take advantage of this platform to do that and showcase highlights and lowlights of fatherhood. Really, my biggest thing with the platform was just bringing people on to my fatherhood journey, because I monikered from fatherless to fatherhood. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of who I am, and that's stemming from a world where I was born into with no father in the home, but was able to not miss out on father figures. And I've been able to really take a lot of some of the best traits of men who've stepped in this role or just stepped in my life as a presence, that I wanted to make sure I was present for my boys. So I did that, right? And it was great. It was crazy to see the growth happening and creating that content. But as we kind of highlighted, I was kind of stuck. I can't do this full time because I'm not making any money. I got to make the money to do all these things. And why are you messing with your pecs right now? Why are you making your pecs dance right now?
I don't know. my bad. Trying to Terry Crews it up in here and don't mean to distract you. But because of the age, because I'm getting distracted. My bad. Hopefully you guys don't get distracted.
Well, basically, what you're saying, I got to do better on my stories, be more concise, and get to the point.
No. I was thinking of, when you said that, I was thinking about your brothers, because even though when they had kids, you were an uncle to their kids, but now that their kids are older, they have more time to be an uncle to your kids.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly enjoyed being an uncle like that. Mm-hmm. Coming back from Ohio and then getting into my own career and have my own money, big more money, and being able to be an uncle like that, that is a title that I hold with a lot of pride.
And I'm sure not a lot of people think of it too, but when most people think of college athletes, they think of the next thing has got to be college pros.
Sure.
But also we forget that college athletes have to get an education, have to get a major, and there's life outside of football, which you're probably a good example of it, seeing that there are other choices out there.
Yeah, and that is a hard thing to do, dude. It's a hard transition. I got teammates of mine who struggled with it a lot further down than I did, but I don't know what to say to that. I don't know how to get them out of it, but
because there's a lot of ego and pride going on, and then sometimes you're like, man, I listened to Terry Crews a lot, and he kind of felt down on himself by not going pro or not being good in the pros, but he had a way successful career outside of it.
A lot of it is when you're in those situations. That's, for example, in college football, where when I got there, everybody there is the best football player from the high school, from the previous level. Mm-hmm. You're the best, right? So you were that guy for some school, and then when you get into there, you're fighting to become that guy again. And some teammates of mine were those guys. And when you're propped up, you're so good, you're going to make it to the league. When you're fed that as a
Like
as a tool
okay.
as to get us to work and motivated to keep working hard. Like, for example, I had a teammate get drafted. We just had the draft. It just happened, the NFL draft, right? This weekend.
This weekend.
And I had a teammate of mine when I was a junior. He got drafted to the second round to the Raiders, you know? And I was like, whoa, I'm really that close that that could happen for me. So, of course, that was like a little coin from the coaches, like, keep going, you know, keep working hard. But it's hard when you're told you're so good and you are good that when that's gone, it's hard to let go of because like no one's feeding that ego anymore. You know.
I have a question. Were you one of those players? Like, was coach telling you were good? Coach telling you were bad? Hello, you want to go on this side? Leo, you want to go on this side? You'll see yourself. All right.
Was I one of the players?
Like, because I felt like I was one of the players where like no one ever told me I was good because I wasn't good. It's not like they weren't telling the truth, but it did motivate me from the other side where I'm like, I suck. I got to work harder.
But that's one, you know, and I want this on record. Like that's one thing of why we're friends, because there was a respect level of the effort and work ethics in each other. That like it's undeniable, and that's what I love and appreciate. Like your example of my life of just seeing that. I never got stronger than you. I never got faster than you. You know, it never happened. But like
you had way more experience. You knew technique and everything, and a higher IQ.
Whatever the case may be, brother. But like at the end of the day, sports, what it's supposed to provide is those things: the hard work, the ethics, hard work ethics, the discipline. You know, all of that.
The skill sets that translate to regular real life.
Absolutely, and like. If you can't capture that during that season of life with sports, you're missing the point. You're missing it. Yes, I was fortunate to go on further from sports, whatnot, between you and I. But at the end of the freaking day, why we're friends and why we're still friends and brothers is because there's just this already fundamental level of respect for each other. What we went through together.
Okay.
So. But no, I was never told to be the guy. You know, I'm going to name drop now, I guess, to help whatever. But
before you go, do you want to protect anyone's names? Whatever you're about to drop or whoever?
No.
All right, cool, whatever.
So
go for it.
My defensive coordinator and position coach in college was Jimmy Burrow.
Wait, any relation to Joe Burrow?
That's his dad.
Oh.
So I've known Joey. I know Joey. So Joey was around 10, 11 years old when I was playing, you know. There's actually a fun little picture that I found. It's no longer online, but it was after our Temple game, a game in particular. I'm going out of the tunnel, and there's kids there wanting to shake our hands. And
Joey's wow.
One of them, you know.
Okay. A little Macaulay Culkin.
But much respect to that kid and their family, but his dad definitely wasn't the one praising me.
So, he didn't like you, huh?
I don't know if it wasn't like, man, but it's just we just had a difference of opinions and things, and part of it was my immaturity. I'll admit to that, but the other side of it was just that I wasn't my teammates that got drafted. You know, I wasn't his ideal. I don't think.
We're never anyone's ideal.
Well, but when you're the coach and you're the defensive coordinator, you have to consider the best fits for the roles that you're the fits you're trying to do for the defense, you know. I just had other intangibles, I believe, that allowed me to compensate what he probably wanted out of me. And we went on from there. So that's what it is. But getting to you and I, right, like post-college and post those things, like, I was away for 4 years, 3 years, 3.5, 4 years, you know, and even when I would come back or whatever, like nothing. But one other thing about our friendship is that junior college time. Only you and I played together in junior college, really, from our group of friends, our class.
Correct.
You know, we had others who came a little bit after me.
But that was when you were already gone.
But I was already gone. And so, like, you and I leaned on each other quite a bit during that period of time because we were in uncharted territories. For me personally, what I was mentally up against was the fact that we came from Westminster High School. Yeah. And I just thought, like, we weren't the best high school. Yes, we were really good. We were league champs. But there was guys coming in from Modern Day, all these other schools that around locally that we are aware of that were much better programs.
They're much, yeah.
That it was a little bit like I was self-conscious. Like, am I really good enough? And so like,
We did have a lot of good intangibles though that carried us far.
absolutely. But what I'm getting at is like, dude, there was many nights and car rides, lunchtime, like we were with each other always, and I leaned on you quite a bit just as my friend, and like keep going because we only had each other. There was, and then eventually we made friends with our teammates, right? Like, of course.
But even then, those guys were like not from our area. They're from like Ohio, Florida, other parts of the world where the personality is way different. Like when we were in high school, it seemed like we all built like a camaraderie or a good friendship. Like it felt like almost like family with a lot of our friends. But when I went to junior college, it was almost like a little bit cutthroat. Where like to be honest, I didn't learn. I learned well in that cutthroat world, like to not care, not give a damn, and then that's when I got better.
But but that's why we sucked. That's why those teams sucked, because we couldn't get people's individualism out of the way. You know, we couldn't come together. And I always highlight that one time, I don't know who we got our butts whooped by, probably I think it was El Camino, but on the bus, I remember there was dudes laughing behind me, talking about the partying they're going to go to.
Oh my goodness.
And I, uncharacteristically, I was a leader, a captain, whatever. I'm not one to get like crazy vocal, but I ripped those dudes. And I was like, what we're talking about freaking partying? Who's got our asses kicked? Like, do you not effing care? Like, I was heated. And I think that's why those teams sucked, because I unfortunately just maybe cared too much, you know, and others did it. And that was hard to grasp, but it was necessary for me to learn.
It's also hard because you put in hard work and then it just seems like your hard work's being laughed at and not taken into consideration.
But, you know, speaking of cutthroat, like there are some, but this is where I have to admit, there were some plays individually that I made, you know, in those games strategically were not good for the team. For example, there were some interceptions that I shouldn't have taken. I should have been knocked the ball down so that we can get the ball back for field advantage, right?
Okay.
But we were losing. We sucked. I need the tape. I need the highlights. So I'm going to go get this interception.
I'll do the same thing as you. I'd try to take it back to the house every time.
So,
did you ever return any to the house?
Never.
Okay.
I never have, man. And even that one from high school that could have counted an orange, it would have got called back because it was clipping. So I've never have. I didn't. Yeah.
We played during the quote unquote headhunting era, where you can spear people, leave with their helmet, crack back blocks. You made a lot of crack back blocks. All right, we can steer away from football for a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to be a mainly football predominantly podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's get into just, you know, what we're doing now with social media. Like, right? Like that was kind of the highlight of there. Yeah. I'm transitioning into this dad content to really bring in my whole self and what I do professional wise, which is I'm a recruiter, and I've been a recruiter throughout about 8+ years, helping primarily those in the technology space. But I've got to shout out my wife, because she's the one that really kind of told me to bring my whole self into this thing. And I think that's where I was handcuffed before, where I was saying, like, I don't know how I can just do content when I got to get job, I got to get money. Well, I was withholding this part of my life, which was the recruiting aspect. And so now I'm marrying those worlds of fatherhood content and career coaching for parents.
Can I ask what shaped your personality?
What shaped my personality?
Yeah, like just through life, because it seems like your personality it carries on to, like, obviously sports, like trying to be a leader and leadership, but also in like you have to be personable to like recruit, talk to companies, talk to clients, talk to candidates.
Sure. I think growing up, you know, I always say I'm a product of a single mother, and I know not everyone's circumstances are the same like mine with a single parent, but I was in a lot of mature conversations and settings, especially at church. Okay. You know, I would have to go with my mom. She would have these church meetings or church activities, and I was just around adults the whole time. And I think that played a part of me having more mature conversations and understanding like what looks right and what looks wrong, I guess, you know. But even I don't know why my personality is what it is. I really don't really have the answer, but I can attribute that, like, because I'm the big age gap between my siblings and I grew up in a more mature household. Everyone was already adults by the time I was really growing up. So I didn't have opportunities to dick around much, you know, like I had adults around me the whole time. And I think that molded me to be a lot more mature and put me in scenarios that by the time I became my own adult or older and I had my own voice, I kind of already knew how to maneuver in those situations and bring personality to that. I have to give credit to my faith in church, because like there's a lot of times I was placed in uncomfortable situations to lead or give talks and to grown adults. So I think that also helped me. But yeah, man, I think that's truly where I want to say where some of my roots of personality, like you're trying to highlight, comes from.
Because that's another thing I know is like you're comfortable talking to older people or just in general. Because I don't think I was ever comfortable talking to adults as a kid. I was only talking to my younger brothers, which were close in age, like a year and a half apart. So that's all I knew how to talk to people my age. But you knew how to talk to a wide variety of people, knew how to communicate well. I just realized when I watch these videos back, I have a stutter. but yeah.
Yeah, in high school, I was voted best personality, right, in our little group thing. And I was like, cool. I don't know why, but I think one thing about high school and one thing about just the world in general, everyone wants to kind of stick to those who are close to them, and you kind of cliquish, right? You kind of want to be close to the groups and demographics that are close to you. But I just feel like that just gives you less opportunity to grow and learn. And I just feel like everybody can teach me something. I kind of maneuver in a binary scale. Like it's either a 1 or a 0. And that's not healthy. Like, everyone can learn, but I'm just like,
there's a whole spectrum of things.
But it's like, I would like to give everyone the chance, and 1 or 0 and go from there.
All right.
What about you though? Like you highlight my personality, man, but like there's not anybody I know that doesn't love you. And
I think it's more of a recent thing. I feel like I fuck up so much in my life where, like in elementary school, my aunt would babysit some kids and I would just pick on them to the point where my aunt couldn't even babysit. Why do you
consider that an F up? Like,
because I want to navigate through life without I want to be a good person without causing as much damage as possible, without casualties. Because I felt like I was an asshole to a lot of people for a long time, and it wasn't until after college or at the end of college where a couple years in a row where my New Year's resolution was to be nicer to people. Because you know how like sometimes when you listen to like, I don't know, let's just say Kanye for instance, because he seems to have that a little bit, which I kind of had that back then. It's like when people hate you, you're like, you know what, fuck them. I'm gonna be more angry at them, fight back instead of like, instead of taking accountability and like, all right, you know what, my bad. I'm just trying to be a better person.
Yeah, it's interesting that I wish you didn't think about that way about yourself. Because I really don't think you've effed up or have done. You call yourself an asshole, but
maybe not to you, but I feel like there's always individual I go through life, but I'm like, man, that was embarrassing. I wish I wouldn't have done that.
It's interesting. And yeah, it never was to me, but I also just, even when I'm around you, that I've monikered a word that like, not asshole, sassole, like I don't call my kids an asshole. I think they're sassholes, like they're sassy, like their dad and whatnot. And I just don't, like, you're not a bad person, Quang. And I'm going to put that here. Like, you're not, bro. And I'm sorry that like, it's unfortunate you feel that way about yourself, but like, as your boy here and your buddy, like, I've never ever saw you that way, and I could never ever agree with anyone who thinks that way about you. And if someone does think that way about you, they can come see me.
Yeah.
But
like, and ever since age, I don't know what number, maybe early mid-20s, where I'm like, I'm gonna turn my life around and try to be. I didn't focus on being successful in the work world, but I focus on being a better human in the real world.
And that's necessary, absolutely, in this world, But I think one word you keep saying is trying, right? You either, like, we're going to keep the Star Wars thing,
Star Wars
or
thing.
do not, and like you just do it.
Do or do not. Yeah.
No one's going to see what's been happening in the last 24 hours, but let's just get it, like how you got here.
Yeah.
I was celebrating my son's third birthday yesterday. You told me you were in San Jose, which is, you know,
2
just
hours
a few hours
away.
away. And he's like, and you asked if you can come visit me, and I was like, bro, come through. And sure enough, you came, you know, and it was late at night. You beat us to the house, back to my house, and you're here. One thing though, since you've been here, how my kids have gravitated to you. My 3rd-year-old son doesn't even know who you are, but he recognizes good vibes. He recognizes how I love you. He recognizes how his mom is loving you, you know, loving onto you, and his older brother gravitates to you. Yeah. So like I think you need to give yourself a little bit more grace and understanding, like you are that good person, bro. Or maybe you can tell yourself, okay, I really have become what I've been trying to do. And hopefully this little stop on your tour here, like is showcasing and validating that for you. And if not, I'm validating that for you. Like,
I appreciate it, brother. Okay.
Like, I'm going to give you your flowers and just allow you to understand, like if you weren't this to me at all, bro, you ain't here. Like, I'm coming up with an excuse to tell you not come over.
Oh man, I got a concussion. You know, like I fell off. Someone was giving me a piggyback ride. Like, I got a concussion today. Can't make it. Can't come through. That would have been the excuse. Yeah, but I'm glad I came. You have 2 working cars. your lawn's mowed.
Yeah, you mowed my lawn today. Like, I've got work to do, but man, like, you know, I'm my own boss now. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. I only answer to God and my wife, and my wife even insisted that, like, you stay here even for a week just to, you know, unwind and whatnot. But, you know, my wife Brenda didn't even hesitate when you asked. I went to her, I said, hey, Quang's in San Jose, can you stop by? And she's like, yeah. I just hate, you know, only thing she hates is that our guest room wasn't ready.
Oh, no worries, man.
But, like,
I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep on the ground.
Yeah.
It's actually like, my house is like, there's no heater. So even here, the heater, luxury. I go to a house I wake up in the morning, even in the summer with AC, luxury. So even though you may consider it dirty, it's pretty luxurious to me right now.
Well, I appreciate that. And she'll appreciate that you recorded that put it on record.
I don't know if you want to discuss your brother, because I feel like your brother's interesting too.
Sure.
We can talk about.
What do you want to know about him?
I mean, like.
Which one, Mo or?
I think they're both interesting in their own way. I think when we called Mo yesterday, he said, "What's up, bitch?" And all 3 of us just laughed. It was usually in prison, you call someone a bitch, like, instant fight. But this one, you can tell, like, it was endearing with love, hilarious.
I mean, what do I have to say about Mo?
All right, because when I think of your brother for now, we think. One of the first times through our friendship, he hooked it up. I don't know if he hooked up or someone else hooked up. We went to WWE together for the Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. And
we sat with, like, celebrities.
Yeah, man.
And I didn't even know who these celebrities were. I was like,
you're literally sitting next to Mr. Building from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, that was the guy?
Yeah. That was
I didn't ever watch that show. I don't know who that was.
And Rick Rubin.
Yeah, you know what? That's when the first day I learned about him too. Because you know so much about people, like. Yeah. I was like, man, this section, nobody loves wrestling in this section.
There's a lot of unnecessary information that I know.
Yes, there was like
culture-wise.
We're in this. I think we got free tickets. It just so happens to be the celebrity section, and I didn't know any of the celebrities. It seemed like we were the only wrestling fans there.
No, they were all fans.
Okay,
that's why they're there. But
I didn't see Rick Rubin go, whoo, when John Cena came out.
Yeah, he probably was high.
He was very chill and very cool, smiled and laughed.
And then on the other side of us was My Chemical Romance. The guitarists and the basses were right by us. But
I think you and I, if we went on that Jeopardy show, Pop Culture, we would do well. At least you would do well in some, and I would do well in the other part.
Sure. My brother and I tried to apply to that finale, actually.
Oh my God! What were you guys' name gonna be?
We failed on the application. I think we just didn't go through with it.
What would your name would have been?
I haven't even watched an episode yet. I don't even know, but I didn't know you have to come up with a name. But
okay, yeah. And for the Daily Double, there was a 3-part question, so all 3 people have to answer 3 questions.
Wow. So, just quickly, you want to highlight my brothers. Look, I love them. at the time of me growing up, those two particular brothers were in the house more, and I was around them more. So, yeah, the relationships there are a little bit tighter than the rest of my siblings. Not the fact that I don't love and my siblings less, but
it's just more so proximity.
They were there, and Mo, my big brother Mo, shout out to him, stepped into that father figure role for my brother Fanau and I, and for our older siblings, to be honest, because he was the oldest boy. So there is some level of responsibility coming down in our culture, the Samoan culture, for him as the oldest boy, and he stepped up and he did the best he could, and in my eyes did the best, and as a way of honoring him. And to be frank, my oldest child carries his name. It was just a way of respect and appreciation.
And regarding Fanau, I know Fanau played against Mr. Tony Gonzalez. If I
Bringing it back to football.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, like, if I were to ever run into... Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are you calling me trash because I'm not a trash can? Are you calling me trash? Slinky?
I just want the viewers to know we contemplated of putting this into my studio or somewhere else, but we opted to just bring it here because we wanted to showcase what's really the realities of my life, right? And it's your 3-year-old son bringing you trash cans. I'm going to say I'm recycling.
All right, Landon, you want to come on this side and look at over here so we can see your face? All right, come here. All right. Now you can turn around and look at that, and you can do whatever dance move or say hello or say whatever you want to say. You want to say in this microphone over here? You want to talk in the microphone? What message do you have for the viewers?
Yours.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll continue on with him right here.
If I make money off this video, he'll get a share.
I think I got to write something in contract for you to use his name, image, and likeness because he's underage. So
Release forms is verbally given, I hope. But also outside of football, we can talk about the kid show he works with because we also work on. Because of you guys, I got to be on a kids' television show.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Aquabats Super Show.
Aquabats.
My brother used to work closely with those guys. The band called the Aquabats, a ska band based out of Southern California. Ended up becoming, some of them became good family friends of ours, and we were blessed to have a relationship with each of them. Yeah, they had a kids' TV show that I was frequently an extra on and had some actual credit, which was cool. My only IMDb credits that I had.
Was this your first job out of college?
In a technicality, yeah, it really was. But I wouldn't say it was a job. I just had work with them, and I was able to come back for a couple episodes or work behind the scenes as a grip in some capacity or a PA in some degree. But it was a great experience and exposure to like production. And I think that's a great tag back to going into content creation because working on that show and watching what goes beyond the scenes really elevated my passion to do content creation and and be creative in that way.
It always, when I meet people, I always think about character building and characters. So when you hear news on the news about this person being mean, that person being mean, it seemed like everybody on the Aquabats and show was super nice. They're super cool, super nice. No one yelled at nobody, even though there was a high stress level to finish. Because stress usually cracks people, and it seemed like stress didn't crack any of those guys. And those guys were
they were most professionals.
Super professional, super kind.
I think that is an homage to the ska music community that they're from, as well as the skating community. That's because they're all skateboarders. They're all that's where it's all from. That punk rock. Yeah. And truly, if you're really in those scenes and those environments, they really are the chillest people, So, we're coming up on with 15 minutes here and 4:15.
We got 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
But do you want to talk about any rated R stories or nah? We can start with our first rated R story. We can talk about the 24-hour fitness if you're okay with that story.
Dude, that is a great story.
Or any other stories?
No, that is a good one because that almost led to, us becoming a DJ band or group that we wanted to do.
Okay.
Let me give you. Let's get to the point where we get back to the parking garage and you come. So like, cause you weren't there at the initial spot.
Correct.
So let me get us to that point, and then why? Because you're frustrated because you drove wherever you were to get to that point. So let me get to that point, and you can take over and kind of go. So I was visiting from school from Ohio. I was in town, and so a couple of our buddies, we were like, hey, let's just go work out. And usually at 24 Hour Fitness at the late night, the front desk is probably a little bit more lenient and could just let someone come in because there's no one there. And so that it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock, probably midnight. And so I ended up going. We show up and then we get to the front desk, and I kind of just fib. And this is probably where I need to learn honesty. It's the best policy. But I still was honest to her, like, hey, like, I'm visiting. I'm from out of town right now. My buddies, which is like 4 of us, like these all have passes. One second, son. This is my son.
She could have just given like a free trial pass for the day.
Yeah,
if she was
and
nice
she
about
just
it.
wasn't having it. And I was like, really? Like,
She's very cholo.
you know, yeah, I'm like, here. We'll save that detail, right?
Okay.
But like, I'm just here, you know, for one more night. Could I just work out with my buddies? And she said no. And we were just like, what? And so we get to the parking garage, and you're finally parked, and you're coming, and we tell you, and because you came from like a party, you came from a far distance. You didn't just like come from home. And so, and then it ends up just saying like, sorry, dude, she didn't let me in. And then
because I think initially I was at that gym, I think.
Okay.
And then my friend was like, oh, I'm trying to go to another gym in another city. So I drove that same guy. We were in this city. I drove to another city, and I was like, oh, where you guys at? And you're like, oh, I'm over here. So I had to drive back to the original city. So I was going back and forth, playing chauffeur. And by the time I got there, I was like kind of frustrated a little bit. And it just so happens that she got off her shift as I was arriving.
Yes.
And you can, and that's.
And so then I get into your car. We're going to attempt to go to another spot, another gym. And sure enough, we get to the stoplight, right? We get to the stoplight, and I was like, oh, dude, that's her.
We were pulled up next to her.
And I was like, oh, dude, that's the girl that denied me.
I had like a little Honda Accord Rice Rocket from a 1990 Honda Accord Rice Rocket with loud as exhaust.
You rolled down the. Did it have electric windows? Or did we
it had electric window.
Okay.
It was electric window. I was pushing it down. You were pushing it up. We were both pressing the button.
Yeah. And sure enough, you're like, bah, I love my job so much. I'm a big old bitch. Wow.
I was just yelling at her like, you suck. And then I think we were one light, and then we got to the next light. And when she drew on, then we were like, what did you say? And then she started throwing,
yeah, what'd you say? Like, just went vato chola on us and started throwing up signs. And we're like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we're getting on the on-ramp, and sure enough, she's still having her hand in the air.
Yeah, she got really mad, and she started following us. Yeah.
And we were essentially in a car chase. Like, and we were like, is she really following us? And
we had the adrenaline, and I think we were both in the wrong.
Yeah.
It was 3 people in the wrong. It wasn't just our fault. It wasn't her fault. At this point, everyone was wrong.
And I know the exit. I forgot. I think it's Chapman or Bristol over there, but next to Angel Stadium. And we were trying to get away from her. We were like, why is she really following us? And why are you still playing with your pecs? I really don't know. And you get to Phoenix Club Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix Club Drive. And we were going down this way, not knowing that it was a dead end. And you just did one of the smoothest Hollywood-esque drifts.
Nah, it was like a fast 3-point turn. Like,
okay, I'm trying to give you some. I'm trying to like liven up the story a little bit more. And I'm gonna say my interpretation is that you had the smoothest Hollywood drift.
180.
180. And like she barely nicks us, and we like deuces, and she had to do the 3-point.
She had it. Like, I was like, oh no! I thought we were gonna get stuck. I thought she was gonna block us in.
Yeah.
But she ended up getting stuck in that dead end, and that's when we got away.
That's when we got away. But it was such an adrenaline rush, and probably wasn't as entertaining explaining that story. But for us,
living it was crazy.
Living it was crazy. What an adrenaline rush! Like I had no clue what was going to happen. What was she going to do if she got close to us? You know, like
even if she did catch us, then what?
Then what?
To be real with you, she was like a 5'3", 120-pound woman.
I don't know.
And you were like, how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot. At that time, probably 200 pounds.
I think I was 5. We were both like You know what's crazy? We were both 200-pound male, and we were scared of like a 5'3", 130-pound woman. we were just like so giddy, and we're like, oh no, we're kind of scared of her. But in reality, she should have been scared of us. She should have been.
And I think that's why we were scared. She wasn't intimidated.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she ain't scared.
She ain't scared. She was following us.
If she ain't scared of us, she ain't scared of death.
Yeah, so that is one of the highlights of our friendships for sure. I don't think there's really many R-rated or things like that. I'm not willing to disclose, but our friendship.
We highlighted the big ones like the kids show, the WWE, the car chase. We made music for a little bit, and then we stopped making music for a little bit.
But there's one thing that hasn't changed about you amongst this friendship, and this is something I'm hoping as you continue to grow out this podcast and talk to people. I want it like I know you're humble and and bashful in the sense like you don't like being complimented. You hate them actually, but I think it's necessary because it's like, dude, like one thing about our friendship, and you showcased it today in the less than 24 hours, just how serviceable you are, like charitable you are. And
I never want to be a burden on others, so I was like, if I go, I got to make sure like I'd be grateful, got to be helpful, and
But it was a burden. I didn't want to mow my lawn at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, but we did it. And but it's just something about you, my guy. Like it's appreciated. And
do you want to go say something?
And so.
Okay. This is how old are you, Landon?
6.
All right, this is 6-year-old Landon over here. He's gonna be 15, and then we're gonna 10 years from now we're gonna look back at this YouTube video.
But no, man, I think. While you're doing this, it's pretty cool. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I think it's just important to like recognize that not all friendships. One second, so not all friendships are molded the same. And if you look at our group of friends, I'm looking at our picture from my wedding, and like it's so eclectic, so diverse. It makes no sense. Like,
I'm glad we got a spot on your wall.
On paper, that group of friends shouldn't be friends in life.
It's super diverse. Like
couldn't be more diverse.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense. And it works, and that's the beauty of the friendships we have, and that I'm grateful to have. Like I have the picture there specifically because I want these boys to always ask like, who's this, and they're always going to get the real answers.
Another huge part of your life is your wife.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep her out of this, or do you want to like describe your origin story with her, or like anything regarding love, regarding marriage, regarding?
No, man, but like no. The real thing about my wife that I'm grateful for, one is that she's awesome.
Yeah, she's very cool with me just showing up as well.
My wife is awesome, one. But two, she holds her own. And you mentioned my big personality, like whatever. Like Brenda holds her own though, in her own right. And it was a big deal for me when I was seeking a partner in life and whatnot, to be able to hang with our boys, with us, and who can hold her own in that space, and she does it flawlessly. And she's a lot cooler than I am, for sure. But, that was a big deal for when I'm choosing a partner for me. And not only that, of course, there's other things, but it is a factor. Like I want my partner to be comfortable with the friends and those that I come to, And
have you gone? I never even asked, but are you good with her friends as well?
Absolutely.
I know that's a struggle for. I'm glad you guys do it well, but I know that's a struggle for a lot of people, especially if there's any rifts in a relationship. Like you would vent to the boys, she would vent to the girls, and then maybe the boys would be mad at her, and her girls would be mad at you.
Sure.
Because I do see that, not with you, but like other people who struggle with relationships.
I probably need to go give her a break.
All right.
She's been really patient.
All right, cool.
Allowing you and I to play with some toys. And
thank you for the hour of free time. Let's plug whatever social media you would like to plug. We start with IG and end up with LinkedIn if you'd like to go with LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is my name, Patrick Tafua. But on social media, I wouldn't mind a follow or whatnot.
Yeah.
I've just it's shifted now to Monowea Coach Patrick. That's because of the program I've created and building. I'm a career coach for parents, and I've put together a program that is helping them.
And you and I, we're just trying to entertain and make people laugh. We're not trying to offend nobody, so don't leave no negative comments, please. if he compares, what is that thing called? Like a recruiting job to your kid peeing, do not leave a negative comment.
No, man. I just, of course, want to bring humor into the world and things like that and be lighthearted. But I think it's for what I'm trying to do. I'm wanting to bring these experiences of helping engineers get jobs for parents and specifically navigate the job search, how to interview, how to negotiate better salaries. I've been doing that for our own personal circles of friends.
Yeah.
And I just realized I should just do this now for the masses. Okay. And so feel free to follow me on Monowea Coach Patrick on Instagram.
And some people help via being a nurse or doctor. Some people help being a police officer. But you help people like find better jobs, better career, better
transitions,
life. Yeah.
right? A lot of parents want that flexibility to be still present for their kids. And some of them maybe have work gaps because they want to go be a parent, but like I'm recognizing for those that I've helped so far, some feel that parenthood isn't sufficient enough to get into their jobs of their dreams or whatnot. My job is to help you work through that. Or if you're in a job right now in a position that's not allowing you to get back the time with your family and you want to get to a new role, I'm here to help you with that. All right. So that's why I guess a little plug, and I appreciate that. And thanks, man.
All right.
And hey, straight out, I love you, dude.
Oh, I
appreciate
you, brother.
And thankful that we've had this opportunity today to reconnect. All
right. We'll take care of you, baby. Thank you for coming on. And we'll catch part 2 sometime in the future when these kids are older. All right. Have a good day.
Peace.
Wash your hands.
Okay, so wash your hands.
Thank you for being good.